Twisters, starring Daisy Edgar-Jones and Glen Powell, is a soft reboot, sequel in a way, of the original Twister movie from 1996. I had very little expectations for this movie, as it seems like Hollywood has no ideas, so they had to dig in or reboot any franchise that they can. But I also thought this could be maybe a Top Gun Maverick situation where the movie is better than it had any right to be. I am pleased to say that I actually did enjoy this movie. This isn't some revolutionary, blowing-your-mind kind of movie that will live with you forever, but it is without a doubt a very fun time at the movies, with some awesome spectacle, good acting performances, and cinematography. The story revolves around Kate, played by Daisy Edgar-Jones, who is a young, budding scientist who thinks she can disrupt tornadoes. Glen Powell plays Tyler Owens, who is a tornado influencer. He streams himself chasing and going inside tornadoes. I don't want to give too much away, even though this isn't some crazy movie that needs to not have any spoilers, but the story is pretty basic, and besides our two leads, the characters are pretty flat. There is also a third character played by Anthony Ramos, who is a little more round than all the other characters, besides our two leads, but it's mostly Glen and Daisy's movie. Comparing the supporting cast of this movie to the original Twister movie, I definitely enjoyed the supporting cast in the original a lot more. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman was one of the guys on the squad, so they don't really add up as well, but our two leads are pretty neck and neck with each other from the first original Twister and this one, in my opinion. The visual effects were very good, especially for modern Hollywood, where it seems extremely hit or miss. There were some sequences that were pretty awe-inspiring and cool to look at, especially towards the end of the movie. I think the movie did a good job capturing the visual, sound, and terror of a tornado. Fortunately, I've never experienced a tornado, but I still found the movie's tornadoes very intimidating and impactful. I also think the science that they tried to explain about how tornadoes are created and stuff like that was pretty good as well and pretty accurate. There are times where people legit die from these tornadoes, and after watching the first Twister movie, before watching this one, I can't recall any deaths from the tornadoes besides the very first scene. My memory could not be serving me well, and I could be wrong, and that is not a takeaway from the original movie. But it was definitely crazy watching people just get sucked in and dying from these freaks of nature. There are a couple references to the original Twister as well, that you will enjoy if you were a fan of the original. It's nothing over the top or in your face, but little things that fans will remember. In the first scene, Dorothy makes a return, and you'll get that if you've seen the original. The movie is well paced overall. It had some clunky dialogue in the beginning, and the jokes didn't land for me as much in the beginning compared to towards the middle and the end of the movie. The dialogue got better as the movie went on too. It helps when you have two likable actors on screen. I like Glen Powell, I think he's good, and I believe this is the first movie I've seen Daisy Edgar-Jones in, and she's a good actress. In the end, I was invested in her character as well as Glen's. I will say I found the choice of music in the movie kind of meh. Not the score was alright, even though I can't really recall much of it. But they put some pop songs and country songs in there on top of scenes where they're chasing tornadoes, or they're trying to make you understand a character's emotional state. Maybe it's because I'm not the biggest fan of those genres, but the music didn't work for me as well as it might work for someone else. It's not a big knock, but one I had to mention. There are some really great shots in the movie too. I think the cinematography was very well done. And I said earlier, the visual effects are great. It's a beautiful movie to look at, and no offense to the original, but some of the effects in that movie were not great at all. But it was a movie from 1996 with a small budget, so you can't blame it. And for what it is, it's still pretty fun. I did see this movie in IMAX Digital Laser, and maybe that's why I liked it so much, especially with the visual and audio. It was very loud and very fun in that theater. Overall, I had a good time with Twisters. Is this a movie that will go down in the history books as a phenomenal movie? No, probably not, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good time at the theater, especially in the summer blockbuster season. It had some good performances and great visuals. Sound design was a lot of fun too. I'd love to see it again. I'll buy it when it comes out on physical media, and I might check it out again in theaters before it leaves. I would recommend anybody to see this, but I will especially recommend if you are a fan of the original and or a disaster movie fan. I liked it as much as the original, if not more. And if you can see it in IMAX, I highly recommend that just for the spectacle of it. I'm not the biggest fan of rating movies because it's so subjective, but if I had to give this one a rating, I'd give it a solid 6.5 or 7 out of 10. Good time at the theaters. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for listening to my review. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. Comment what you thought of the movie and what you thought of my review down below, and let me know if you like this one or the original Twister more. Thanks again for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time, here in the Junkyard!